Clients don't buy legal services. Clients buy emotional outcomes. Your stories communicate those outcomes more clearly than any list of services. Stories communicate safety, clarity, agency, support, identity, humanity, empathy, compassion. A client chooses you when they feel emotionally aligned with you. Stories can create that alignment almost instantly. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of They Don't Teach This in Law School. I'm Bryan Austin of law firm Alchemy and Red Kraken Creative, filling in once again for Charlie Mann. If it's your first time joining us, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. It also would mean a lot to us if you left a review to make it easier for law firm entrepreneurs just like yourself to find us. So, my friends, Thanksgiving has come and gone. The leftovers are finished, guests have traveled home, and that comfortable holiday slowdown is behind us. We're stepping back into routines, into inboxes that refilled themselves overnight, even with the holidays, caseloads that didn't take a vacation, and teams slowly easing back into their work rhythm. But right now, in this soft, reflective week after Thanksgiving, it's the perfect moment to talk about something deeply human. That is, your stories. Not the stories about your clients, not the stories about the law, not the stories that live inside casebooks or statutes. I'm talking about the stories that live inside you. Your experiences, your insights, your beliefs, your history, your decisions, your failures, and the moments in your life that shaped how you show up as a lawyer. Today's episode is called Selling Your Stories. And we're going to take a strongly strategic approach to this topic. Because the truth is, storytelling isn't simply something nice to add to your marketing. It's not icing, it's not flair. Storytelling is one of the most underutilized business tools in the legal industry. And when you know how to use it strategically, it can become one of your greatest competitive advantages. So today, we're going to talk about how stories function psychologically in marketing, why stories sell better than data or credentials, the specific categories of stories law firm owners should use, tactical frameworks for turning everyday moments into branded messaging, realistic case examples so you can visualize the impact, and practical prompts and exercises to start building what I call your story library. This episode's not about artistic expression, it's about strategic communication. Storytelling is a hinge for both of those things. So by the end of today's episode, you're going to have a blueprint you can use for your LinkedIn, your email, your video content, your consultations, team leadership, and next year's Thanksgiving table. So let's get into it. Let's start with the brain science, because this matters. Humans have had thousands of years to develop an appreciation for stories. It's one of the ways we connect into the world. We're a narrative species, right? We come to understand the world through the stories that we tell. So despite communicating in things like bullet points, and despite lists becoming an effective way to get a lot of information or specific information out, people still have a hardwiring to think in stories. We don't think in bullet points. We don't think in lists. We don't think in legal logic or citation. We think, or at least most people do, in stories. Why? Because stories activate multiple areas of the brain simultaneously. They activate our sensory cortex for visualization. They activate our motor cortex for movement. They activate our limbic system for our emotions, our hippocampus for memory. This is why you can remember a story someone told years ago. This is why it's easy to remember a story someone told you 20 years ago, and a lot harder to remember the last statistic you heard 20 minutes ago. Stories leave a huge impact. In fact, research shows that information delivered through story is 20 times more memorable than information delivered through facts alone. Now, let me connect this directly to your legal marketing. Most law firms market themselves using the least memorable form of communication: data. Bullet points, credentials, awards, legal jargon, aggressive representation cliches. That language is everywhere. It's completely undifferentiated. Everyone says it, so it matters less. Everyone says it, so it means nothing. But when you use your personal stories, your individual stories, and I'm talking about the small ones alongside the big ones. I'm talking about your failures along with your triumphs and successes. moments where things made sense to you, moments of clarity, lessons that you've lived from your experience. You suddenly transform your messaging from something generic into something human. And human connection is the true currency in marketing. Clients appreciate where you went to law school, but they're less likely to remember where you went to law school than what law school was for you. They don't remember how many years you've been practicing. They don't remember the intricacies of your practice area. They remember, above all, how you made them feel. They remember the stories you tell, and they remember the stories, above all, that resonate with their struggle and where their stories lie. People love connecting with people whose stories rhyme. They'll remember the moment that resonates with their own experience. They'll remember the story that demonstrated who you were and not just what you do. This is more than theory, it's strategy. So when you're looking for the stories to tell, the stories that you can use in your marketing to bring clients to you, there are 4 types that every attorney should leverage across their brand. They aren't creative writing genres or categories. Each one is a different tool for your story toolbox. So let's break them down one by one. The first one's going to be origin stories, your why. Your origin story is the narrative that explains why you chose the law, why you started your firm, why you picked your practice area, why you built a different system, approach, or philosophy. The story is not, I've always wanted to help people. That's too broad. A strategic origin story communicates your defining moment, a belief or value that drives you, a place of identity where clients can meet you, and what makes you approach things differently. So I'm going to give you a fictional example. Imagine a criminal defense attorney who grew up watching a family member get mistreated by the system. He doesn't tell the dramatic story. Instead, he shares the moment he sat in a courthouse hallway at the age of 12, watching with confusion and fear on his uncle's face, and he made a promise to himself in that moment. People deserve someone who will explain the system, not just fight in it. So it's a fictional story, but where are you on the other side of it? In 20 seconds, that story communicates purpose, human connection, a value system, a service philosophy, and it does so without trying to sell anything. It just communicates why. So the next story is client transformation. These show, rather than tell, the impact your work does, the impact your firm has. Now, transformation stories aren't about the legal mechanics, the motions filed, or the negotiations. Instead, they're about fear turning to clarity, confusion turning to confidence, discomfort turning into comfort. A good example of this, a family law attorney shares the story of a client who walked in shaking during a consultation. Instead of talking about custody strategies, the attorney shares the moment the client said, "For the first time in months, I feel like I'm not alone in this." That's the impact clients are buying. That's what they want when they walk through the door. Third type are vulnerable stories, controlled, strategic transparency. This is a really good trust builder when you're looking at strategic communication and branding. A vulnerability story is not about dumping emotion or sharing trauma. Instead, it's about demonstrating your humility, showing your growth, proving that you've learned from your lessons, challenged your beliefs, and you've come around on the other side. Turning to fictional examples, imagine a personal injury attorney telling a story about losing a case early in their career. They don't do it for the drama, but instead they share the lesson that led them to develop better client communication systems. It shows integrity, evolution, investment in client experience. These stories position you as a leader who learns and improves, rather than someone who's just rigid, took the necessary courses, and is super set in their way. The last story type are founder philosophy stories. It's a way to demonstrate your values in actions. So stating your values is good marketing, but demonstrating your values is good branding. It's demonstrating brand identity. These stories reveal your firm's culture, ethics, and priorities. A good example of this is a time that you refused a profitable case because it didn't align with your values, how your team rallied around a struggling client, lessons from a mentor that shaped your leadership, a moment that confirmed why your mission matters. So here's a fictional example. A probate attorney tells a story about returning a client's retainer because she realized they didn't need a full estate package. They needed a simple document. A story like that demonstrates honesty and long-term thinking without ever saying the word honesty. So here are types of stories that we're looking to collect as you're beginning to build your story bank or your story library. Now we're going to get tactical with it. One of the biggest myths about storytelling and branding is that I don't have interesting stories. I have nothing to say. That's wrong. You're wrong. You exist. You're alive. You are automatically, by your existence, one of the most interesting things that can exist in the universe. Every person has hundreds, if not thousands, of usable stories. You simply haven't been trained to see them yet. So let's get you in the eye of the storyteller. A story doesn't have to be dramatic. Some of the best ones come from really simple moments. It's a conversation with your kid, a frustrating morning commute, an observation at the grocery store, a moment of hesitation before a bad decision, memory triggered by a sound or a smell. You know, we all just came from Thanksgiving. I am certain that each and every one of us listening at this moment has at least, at minimum, 10 stories of what their experience was in the Thanksgiving season. What's amazing about that is that anyone you tell a story to has a similar experience that automatically mirrors yours because we just went through this shared cultural experience. So we're going to talk about how to utilize the anecdote amplifier. It's a 4-part tactical tool. I'm going to teach you how to turn any moment into strategic content. Are you ready? So there's first steps to this. The first is observation. It's simply looking at a possible story. It's figuring out what happened in clear, simple terms. Now, the next step is finding the meaning in it. What did this moment, this practical thing that happened, reveal? And the third is application. Having found the what and having found the meaning, next you're going to figure out how to apply it. What does this insight and how does this insight apply to my clients or my practice? And the last part is the takeaway. What lesson should your audience walk away with? So those are your 4 steps: observation, meaning, application, and takeaway. So for the example, observation. As a lawyer, you notice a client organizing messy documents into neat stacks. What's the meaning you can take from that? Your client's trying to make sense of the chaos. The application. Many clients come to you overwhelmed by paperwork and decisions. The takeaway. Your job is more than legal work. It's helping people to make sense of confusion. We had a simple instance, a person overwhelmed by paper. And with that, suddenly you're able to create a story that reaches and demonstrates how you can meet people in those challenging moments. So when you're looking at framing a story, now that we know how to collect them, distill them into neat packages, what are some ways that we can frame it with confidence in both our writing, our speaking, and the content we make? Something which I like to utilize is what's called the SPEAK framework. It's how to tell stories like a pro. So we've talked about what to say. Now we'll talk about how you can say it. SPEAK's an acronym. It's a power structure for turning stories into marketing-ready narratives. The S in SPEAK stands for set the scene. It's short, it's vivid, it provides the where. The P is the problem. Identify the tension, whether it's external or internal. E is for emotion. What was felt in that moment? A for action. What happens next? What did you decide? What did you do with what you felt? K is knowledge. At the end of that, what was learned? What's the takeaway? Speak ensures your stories stay focused, stay emotionally connected, stay concise, and end with a clear message. Most importantly, it ensures that what you say aligns with your brand's promise. All of these things collectively enforce and empower your branding to become more story-based. Here's one of the strongest strategic truths in legal marketing. Clients don't buy legal services. Clients buy emotional outcomes. Your stories communicate those outcomes more clearly than any list of services can. Stories communicate safety, clarity, agency, support, identity, humanity, empathy, compassion. A client chooses you when they feel emotionally aligned with you. Stories can create that alignment almost instantly. So let's leave you with a couple of storytelling exercises that can help build that story library and how you can take those stories and turn them into content. Exercise 1 is a 15-minute story brain dump. Set a timer for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and write down 5 moments when you faced huge odds and beat them. Write down 5 moments when you faced huge odds and you did not, where you did not succeed. Talk about 5 moments that shaped how you see the world. By the end of this, you'll have 15 powerful stories that you can utilize for LinkedIn, emails, online content. Now, exercise 2 is to write a client story from their perspective. This is a powerful empathy builder. Write, I walked into the office feeling blank, and then continue the story from the client's perspective. This exercise reveals the emotional journey that clients are actually on. And if you tuned in last week talking about adding more empathy into your messaging, this is also a really great exercise. Exercise 3 is to build a 50 seed story bank. Open a note on your phone, and each day or each time a story occurs to you, add a little seed, something noteworthy or even mildly interesting that happens. By the end of this, aim for about 50 of these seeds, 50 little stories that you can turn into something. And the final exercise is to replace one pitch with one story. Take one section of your website or marketing stuff that feels stiff or generic, something where you feel like you're showing rather than telling, and see what happens if you replace that really dry messaging with a story that speaks to those same things, does it in a way that shows rather than tells. So on the other side of Thanksgiving, as we look to an even bigger season of stories, the holiday season, I have an assignment for you that's really straightforward. Choose one moment from your life, any moment, and turn it into a story using the Speak framework. After you do that, share the story. Share it on your LinkedIn, in a YouTube short, in an email to your list, on your website bio, share it in a consultation, share it over the holidays. If you share it online, tag Law Firm Alchemy. We would love to see your progress and see you practice this new skill and new tool in your toolbox. Remember that your origin story, your transformation stories, your philosophy stories, how you got here, these stories aren't optional. And more than that, my friends, they don't deserve to live in a drawer. Your stories deserve to be told. They're the backbone of powerful brand building. Clients hire you for your expertise, but they choose you because of your story. They choose you because you've lived something that resonates with where they are and where they hope to go. So sell your stories, because no one else has the same ones. There's only one you. And that, more than anything, is something that they don't teach in law school. So thank you for joining us this week. We'll see you all in the next episode of They Don't Teach This in Law School.